It's 1998, Gran Turismo and Need for Speed Hot Pursuit are dominating the racing games market, the next generation of consoles is slowly approaching, and a small Swedish studio known as Digital Illusions, or later DICE, I wonder what these guys are up to these days, decided that they also wanted a slice of the cake and released Motorhead on the PlayStation. At first glance, the game kinda looks like one of those Ridge Racer clones, but to me, saying this doesn't do the game justice, considering its handling model, which is a lot more focused on grip and precision, and its graphics that were really impressive for the time. Motorhead was actually not Digital Illusion's first attempt at a racing game though, as in 1997 they released S40 Racing on PC. A much less ambitious project that took less than 2 months to develop, and it would be sold in Volvo dealerships. The game only offered a selection of 2 tracks and a single car, obviously the Volvo S40, but it would serve as a base for their next game Motorhead, as we can tell by both of its tracks being ported over as well as the user interface being exactly the same. Motorhead would later receive a PC version which offers a few quality of life improvements, but for this video I'm gonna focus on the PlayStation version. And immediately when booting up the game, I get a jump scare. I surely didn't expect to hear the Fox jingle here, but yep. They are the publisher for the North American release, so that makes sense. In-game you're welcomed with a very interesting menu design based on gauges. The option menu lets you tweak a few things like AI difficulty or opponent's number, which is our first interesting feature. You can decide to play the game either in 60 or 30 frames per second, but it will impact the number of opponents on the track. At 30 FPS the races are limited to 6 players, while at 60 they are limited to 3. On the other end, the PC version offers 8-player races at whatever FPS your PC is capable of. Nowadays it's probably a couple thousand. While playing in the 60 frames mode, I noticed some slowdowns at times, which I was wondering if they were due to emulation or not, but found that it also happens on real hardware. Nothing game-breaking, but it's still worth pointing out. Being limited at 2 AI opponents is a bit sad, but it's still very impressive to see such a good-looking game run at 60 FPS on the PS1. While we're at it, let's talk about the graphics. I know I'm playing the game on an emulator, which makes it look better than it should, but even on real hardware the game looked really clean, especially for 1998. Both the car models and environments look really good with pretty high quality texture for the time. Now obviously this has to come with a downside. As you can see, the draw distance is rather short. It's not that bad because the fog does add some kind of cold dark aesthetic to the game and you still have enough time to react to the upcoming corners, but it doesn't do a great job at hiding the pop-in and it kinda feels like it's here just to hide the lack of life around the track. The PC version still has that fog, but it's set a little bit further, which honestly makes the game look a lot better. Now, for a racing game to look good, it needs to have good looking tracks, right? Thankfully, it is the case here. The tracks offer a good variety of more or less urban environment on top of the 2 racetracks from S40 Racing. If we exclude those 2, the 6 other tracks that this game has to offer are very good at giving that industrial futuristic vibe that the game is going for, well except maybe for the Greek track, which honestly is a breath of fresh air and a good addition to add some variety. On top of that, the track layouts have a good balance between technicality and approachability. They are tight in some areas but still flow very well. In terms of car selection, the game offers 10 original cars, with 3 unlocked at the start. Their designs really give off a big 1990s concept car vibe. Some may like it, some may not. I personally think they are fine, and they shoot the game's tone pretty well. Wait, I just talked about unlocks, did I? Yep, because this game has a progression system. A very short one, but still. Out of all the game modes, the one we're gonna focus on is League Race. You start in Division 3 and have to win a tournament comprising 2 races. Once this is done, you unlock 3 new cars and 2 tracks, and you can do the Division 2 League, which consists this time of 4 races, and same thing for Division 1, which has 6 races. After winning Division 1, you're challenged to beat the champion, who drives the fastest car in the game on a glorified oval. If you do beat him, you unlock his car. And that's pretty much it. Yes, the game is only barely over an hour long. It's a bit sad, but honestly I quite enjoyed it despite that. I think it's nice to have some shorter games sometimes. Not every game needs to be 50 hours long. And it has some replayability elements if you want to try out the other cars or the extra track that the game didn't even tell you about. You can even try hard mode if you want some more challenge. While I didn't have any major roadblocks in medium difficulty, I still had to focus quite hard to win some races. And you're not allowed to retry when you crash. It doesn't help that the AI tends to have some intense rubber band, which you'd think you can disable in single races, but no. Catch-up is a different rubber banding mechanic and the AI will rubber band anyways. Overall, the game is not as hard as I was told. Even hard difficulty is manageable as long as you understand the driving physics. Cause if you try to drift in every corner, you might indeed find this game very difficult. The other game modes that this game has to offer are Quick Race, Single Race and Time Trial, which are fairly straightforward but always welcome, as well as 2-player split screen, but it also has a game mode called Ghost Mode, which is basically time trial but where you can fight against your ghost, which is honestly quite innovative. Unfortunately, the ghost has no transparency, which could have made it a lot more interesting. There are also some secret cheats that can be activated not by inputting cheat codes, but by performing certain actions in the game. Such as going to a certain location and wait. For example, you can unlock a cinematic camera option by going to the pier in Olympus and wait. In the soundtrack department, you've been hearing some of it during the video, and my opinion on it is that it's pretty solid. It's not Ridge Racer levels, but they fit the game and their respective tracks very well, and if there is one thing we can all agree on is that it screams 1998. But now the most important question, how's the handling? Well, it's pretty solid actually. First, the game uses a twin stick scheme, which was not very common on the system. You have to steer with one stick and throttle brake with the other, and the reason why I'm not specifying which ones does what is because you're the one who decides. Unfortunately, the game doesn't let you remap any other controls, which is a bit sad, but honestly you don't need anything other than the sticks pretty much. Don't worry if you don't have a DualShock controller though, as if your controller doesn't have sticks, it will default to cross and square for throttle and brake. As for when you join the track, the handling is nothing too complicated, but its strength lies in its predictability. The handling model is consistent and the car will do what you expect it to do, giving the sense that you really are in control. While it doesn't sound like much, a lot of PS1 titles had some issues in that department and could be deemed as a bit too twitchy or some others too sluggish, while this one feels pretty well balanced. Not only that, but it also makes use of the analog stick to give you proper throttle control. It's a bit sensitive, but it's nice to be able to do it in the first place, and I did find myself having to make use of it a few times. However, while the game is definitely leaning towards the arcade side, you should avoid drifting at all costs, as the speed loss is quite significant. There are a few exceptions, like maybe a few hairpins where a slide can help you turn around quicker, but it's still generally best to avoid drifting. But the best part, in my opinion, is the physics. More often than not, the collisions are generally the stinky point in a lot of PS1 races, but here it's quite consistent. It doesn't sound like much, but it's nice to see PS1 games that don't program the collisions with just a simple if collision stop car or whatever. One of the consequences of this is that wall grinding feels like the meta, but honestly it's not too much of an issue. Like if you don't like wall grinding, just don't wall grind. And I haven't seen any instance of cars clipping through each other or any kind of nonsense like that. You can even try to do some car combat if you really want to, because the AI's cars aren't absolutely heavy, and they will react properly to collisions. More than once I managed to pit maneuver them and end the race. They can also do it to you though, so be careful. And overall, with physics like this, it makes those hard 6-player races really fun, because you can see the AIs crashing all over the place and catch up in an instant, and it makes for a really fun race. Like, sure, it's messy and they are very obviously cheating, but it makes the race quite action-packed, and at least you're not gonna be alone 30 seconds ahead for the whole race. I'd say it's the good kind of jank. Now, how was the game received at the time? The PC version received a 71 out of 100 on game rankings, while the PlayStation version sits a bit lower at 65. Some of the reviews kinda feel like we weren't playing the same game. Thankfully, there are a lot of reviews that give this game justice, but it's always funny to see reviews that seem to talk about a different game completely. As for the sales, since it's a fairly niche release, it's hard to find that kind of information about the game. According to VG charts, the PlayStation version only sold 30,000 copies, which I outright refuse to believe. I also couldn't find the sales figure for the PC version. Needless to say, this game didn't sell very well. So as a conclusion, Motorhead is a solid arcade racer, which unfortunately didn't do enough to stand out from its tough competition. Its cutting-edge graphics and good physics aren't enough to compensate for its lack of content. I still personally enjoyed the little time I've put into it, but I highly wish it had a little bit more to do. It's not as good as a Ridge Racer Type 4 or a Tokyo Max 2, go check out my review of it if you don't know that game, but it's still a fun game and I'm glad it exists. I definitely recommend you to try it out as it's quite short anyway, so even if you find it to be a time waste, it's never gonna be a big one. I hope you enjoyed this review, let me know what you think of this game in the comments, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more obscure racing games like this one. I'm also streaming on Twitch, where I play a wide variety of racing games, and sometimes I even speedrun them, so don't hesitate to join in. But now it is time for me to end this video, so see you in the next one, and until then, take care and have a good one.